This is Speaking of Writers. I'm Steve Richards. This is Speaking of Writers. I'm Steve Richards. The book is called Broken Wheel, Beauty in the Madness. The author is Johnnie Williams. It's a collection of poetry that Johnnie wrote when he was in the midst of a severe depression, all the while continuing to raise his son and deal with various medical conditions. All the poems are in no specific order in this book. They document his journey from depression to finding the joy in life again. And I'm happy to have Johnnie Williams join me here on Speaking of Writers. Johnnie, welcome.
How you doing, Steve? Thanks for having me.
How are you?
I'm good.
So what led you to this book, Broken Wheel?
Like you pretty much said, I was in a severe depression, and all of life's events were just weighing on me, and I needed to find some answers. And so I started picking up new hobbies. And I started, reading and researching about my various medical conditions. And it led me to a point of self-discovery where I had to look further into my issues that I was having throughout my life in order to find the answers that I needed to move forward with my life.
Did you, with your poems, did you always write poetry?
No. Actually, I never thought I would write anything. I've heard people have told me all the time that I need to write a book about my story because it's just so awesome. I mean, for lack of a better word right now. But I started writing poetry because I didn't know how to write, but I knew poetry doesn't really have a format. So I knew if I started by writing poetry, I could eventually get to a point where I could write a book and know how to write a book and keep it interesting without making it too depressing.
We're talking to Johnnie Williams here on Speaking of Writers. Broken Wheel, Beauty in the Madness is his new book of poems that's out now. Tell us about your background a little bit. You served in Iraq. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Yeah, I served in Iraq. I was in the Army for 2 years before I got injured in a Humvee accident. And then, I got out and I was only 20 years old at the time. And like most 20-year-olds, I already didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be in the military, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then when I got injured, I had to relearn how to do anything. So I spent a lot of years dabbling. I dabbled in college courses. I dabbled in disabled sports. I dabbled in partying and self-medicating. And I never really committed myself 100%. So I'm not going to say I wasted a lot of good years, but it took me a while to finally know what I wanted to do. And when I knew what I wanted to do, I had to make some tough decisions in order to get to where I needed to be in order to accomplish those goals. So, and that's what really drew me further into a depressive state, because I had to sacrifice a lot of what I loved in order to get to where I was happy. And that really is what this book is about. It's about that journey of getting to that point to where I discovered answers, but it was just the fact that I needed to apply those answers to my life in order to make them successful. And that's why I called it Beauty in the Madness.
It's a great title, yeah. Broken Wheel, Beauty in the Madness. Johnnie Williams, the author. By the way, it's available at writersrepublic.com, also amazon.com, and barnesandnoble.com as well. Johnnie, was there one person who really helped you with this, specifically with this book? Was there a mentor of yours? Did you have a good support staff, support team, family, friends?
Well, there was nobody that helped me with the book, because when I was writing it, I actually wanted it to be me. I didn't want any outside influence. I wanted it to be just specifically what I was feeling. But there were people that helped me along the way that kept me from falling further down the rabbit hole. My coach and one of my best friends, Roderick Green, he would come by every day, and even when I didn't want him to, he would come by and we would laugh and joke and talk and just for if it was 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it was, he lifted my spirits and he always made me feel as if I mattered. And then of course it was my mom. She's a huge influence on my life. um there was I'll say this. There was someone significant in my life that influenced me, uh, not by helping me, but by hurting me.
Mm.
I'll leave it
What's
at
been
that.
okay? What's been the feedback from all of these people to this book and the
Well,
poems?
it's kind of been mixed. I haven't really asked anyone about it because I wanna see if they say anything like it really touched them. I've heard some feedback, and some has been good, some it hasn't been negative, but is they didn't understand where it was coming from once I explained it. They kind of said, "Oh, okay, I get it now." But a lot of people haven't came back and said anything to me because I'm not on social media anymore because that was one of the things I had to give up in order to find clarity.
Mm.
So, as far as feedback, I'm not looking for it. I'm open to getting it, critiques and criticism. I mean, anything that can help me, but I haven't really had any negative feedback, so I'll take that as a win.
Do you have? I know these poems. And I talk to authors. They say like especially poetry writers. The poems are like their children. Do you have any favorites?
Um, Honestly, I remember all of them, but this is actually my second collection.
Mm.
And I also have a third collection that's about to be published now. So there's a lot of them flowing around in my head. If you give me a second, I can actually look. Um,
We're talking to Johnnie Williams here on Speaking of Writers while you're doing that. Broken Wheel is the book, Beauty in the Madness. He's got a third collection coming too of poems, and it's available at writersrepublic.com, also amazon.com and barnesandnoble.com.
we will. It's in no order, so my favorite is actually Queen.
Queen?
Um, yes, Queen. So it's my favorite is King, but Queen is actually my favorite because it's not for someone special in my life, but it could be someone special, and it like it just it touches a certain part of my heart.
Mm. So when you got this book published, what was the feeling?
Like I said, it was my second one. So it was kind of the same feeling. But when they notified me that it was a recipient of the Plume Award, that took me over the top. When I wrote this one, I actually felt like it was me. I felt like it was me. It wasn't completely me. I know that sounds weird, but I felt like I was getting better in my head. I felt as if all the issues and the depression and everything that was swirling around was getting solved. And like I said, I had the answers. I just hadn't applied them yet. And this was the answers. And the next book is applying those answers.
Mm. So, Johnny, what is your current outlook on life? Question.
So I'm optimistic, but I'm pessimistic.
Mm.
I'm rolling with the punches. I haven't. I still have the health issues going on, so I'm not completely out of the woods yet. But I've learned to accept the bad with the good. Unless you have those lows, you can't appreciate those highs. So I've learned to accept those lows and just say, you know what, this is temporary. I know what the next step is. I know what the next goal looks like. So, I'll deal with this and I'll get there once this is finished.
And now you have all this writing too. You said they're working on the third book of poems.
Yeah.
Um, how has that helped you?
Oh man, tremendously. The third one is more my original personality because I believe personally that when I got injured, I was in a coma for 6 days, I believe it was, and I believe that those 6 days I lost something. I lost a part of me. I lost my drive. I lost my identity. I lost something. And this journey that I've been on has been me getting back to where I was before I got injured.
Mm.
The last collection is more of my true personality. You have the logic, but you also have the nonsense. It's kind of Alice in Wonderland.
With Johnnie Williams, the book is Broken Wheel, Beauty in the Madness. Johnny, what's the main message that you'd like readers to take away from this book?
Just to never stop trying. Never throw in the towel and say enough is enough, because to reach success, you have to go through a lot of pitfalls. And those those hurdles are meant to stop you from succeeding. So, it's a hard job to get to success, and it's an even harder job to stay successful. So if you want to just be one of those people that say it is what it is and accept your situation and stay below that glass ceiling, that's fine. But if you want to break that glass ceiling, then you have to understand that you're going to get cut. And those cuts are going to hurt. But once you get above that ceiling, life is going to be beautiful. And then it's going to be another glass ceiling. So it's never going to stop until you say, you know what, I'm good, I'm content, I have enough. You know what? This is the beauty and the madness.
The Beauty and the Madness, Broken Wheel, The Beauty and the Madness. That's the name of the book. The author is Johnnie Williams, and it's available at writersrepublic.com, also amazon.com, and barnesandnoble.com as well. Johnny, thank you so much for joining me. This is Speaking of Writers. I'm Steve Richards.